What's up, brother? One second.
Jumping the gun.
That's all right. We can talk over it
A little bit too anxious.
as we come in. You know how it is.
There
All
we
right.
go. Round two. Thanks for having
Round
me
two.
back,
You're
man.
right. I know. Crazy. I wasn't sure about you. I wasn't sure.
No, man. Like I said, I've always wanted to get into something like
I was
this.
looking for other options. No, I'm kidding.
Gonna replace me already? I've
no,
already been
no,
cut.
I kid. What's up, bro?
Same
doing?
shit, different day.
Yeah.
Glad you texted me. You caught me at the right time today.
Yeah, I know.
Right as I
Sure.
was getting out of the gym, just took a shower. It's like, hey, come on by. All right, let's do this.
I don't need that image in my head, but I appreciate it.
I mean, I had a positive day, positive start to the day. So what can you
All
do?
right. Well, since now you brought it up, all right. Tell me, what's the positive start?
Oh, no, I
Anything
got
else?
like,
Oh,
got like
just
a 3-hour workout in there today. Did
Felt
some
good?
back and abs.
all right.
Good stuff today.
Besides that, anything else?
Well, I mean, I've been on.
Anything else you want to mention? How you feeling right now? A little lightheaded? A little
No,
tingly?
actually, I'm good to go. Actually,
Good to go. All right. What's I like to hear?
yeah. So, how was your
Um,
trip in today?
No, it's just a little bit of traffic. More nothing crazy.
but
But yeah, I had my voice and guitar, which is always fun. Trying to learn how to sing.
You've been
and,
playing guitar for a while, or just picking it up for the first time?
Well, to be fair, I did it in elementary school, but I was horrible at it, and I never practiced. I always got like the bare minimum to pass, like a C. I think I failed actually a few times. No, I think I did, and I went to the kind of elementary school where it was in a Jewish center. Okay.
But didn't you go to a Catholic high
Well,
school? though?
well, Catholic high school, yeah. But I went
Jewish
to
elementary Catholic
well,
high school.
I went to
Okay.
it was a private school, but it was in a Jewish elementary center. This is when I lived in Queens and Fresh Meadows.
Okay.
So it was a private school in a Jewish synagogue. They like rented out. I don't know why they had like a full blown school there, and we were literally, like we'd have music class right across from the like the synagogue, the prayer, the where you go in and pray.
Yeah.
And so, that's where it was K through 8, one class of each grade. So, and there was only like maybe, roughly 18 to 20 kids in each class. So everybody knew everybody.
Yeah,
I started there in
that sounds-
first grade though.
Sounds like a small school. So
Yeah, so it's tiny. So I started there in first grade, and I went from first to 8th grade there. So you pretty much, those were most of my best friends for the rest of my life. Although I actually probably don't talk to any of them now, but up until like a couple of years ago, those were my closest friends. But yeah, it was weird that it was in a Jewish synagogue.
That sounds like a very Queen situation, though, where it's like just a private school, kind of just like fit in wherever they can.
Yeah,
do it.
well, diversity is crazy over there. So you had like one person of each ethnicity in the school too.
Keep it diverse. I like it.
Well, that's Queens. That's a neighborhood.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, and but it was, I don't want to say it was hell on earth, but no, it's elementary school, but it was the place just it was weird. Like they'd have pizza Wednesdays, but it was kosher pizza. So it was the nastiest, most disgusting.
I sympathize there.
And I remember one time specifically in 5th grade, I had this English teacher named Miss Manners, kind of an irate, yeah. And one time, she would hand out the pizza, and the cheese was just all over the place, like fell like all off the pizza.
Yeah, it's that
so she
kosher
scoops
or
it up,
whatever
right?
it is.
Yeah, whatever. I have no idea. But she scoops up the cheese separately and like globs it back onto the pizza. And yes, and she goes, "It's okay, I have mother hands." And I'm like, "Hell no."
She must have been Jewish
that-
if she was working in this
No, I don't
school.
think she. I don't know.
That
Actually, it's a good
sounds like
question.
something such a Jewish mother would do. Like, it's okay, it's fine. Here you go.
Yeah, no, my mother would say
So
the same
appetizing.
kind of thing. Yeah, like that means I know that your hands have, been all over the place.
Yeah,
but,
you've touched the snot of every other
that
kid
one
in this
literally
class.
right into my hands, right into the trash. I starved the rest of that day. I went hungry.
Probably a good idea, actually. You're probably better off just starving.
Yeah. What kind of school did you go to?
Oh, I went to a basic ass like elementary school. I mean,
You ever go to public school?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes. Public school all the way from kindergarten all the way through high school. Just
Okay.
basic ass
Oh,
suburban
at the same
kid.
like the same place, the same kindergarten K through.
No,
high
they
school?
were all in different buildings, like kindergarten.
No, but like the same campus or the same sort of school district or whatever.
Same school district.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
so you basically knew all this. That's what everyone
Yeah,
did. Same-
everybody was together through. Like, well, actually, so we had 5 elementary schools, and everybody was together 6 through 8, and then some kids took off, went to like Catholic high schools and stuff like that. But otherwise, everybody kind of knew each other from 6th grade on.
Okay. And where is this again? What town or whatever?
This was West Babylon,
Oh, West
born and
Babylon.
raised.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
right on the Nassau-Suffolk border, right on the South Shore.
I dated a girl from North Babylon.
It's a small world. It really
It's
is.
a small world. Well, Long Island's kind of one of those places. I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah.
people, but somehow
Everyone knows everybody somehow, some
at
way.
some point. Yeah. And so wait, so you went to West Babylon High School? Then I take it.
Yes, I did.
And so, like, what? Would you have any kind of? Did you like know St. Anthony's, or did you like? I went to Catholic school.
Yeah, I
so I
mean,
only knew the Catholic school world.
there were
but-
kids that like I went to school with in like 8th grade that all of a sudden they went to Chaminade or St. Francis or
Okay,
St.
Chaminade,
Anthony's.
Chaminade. Yeah, that's a big one. My brother went to Kellenberg.
Gotcha,
And,
gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, I know all those schools. We were rivals in sports and all that.
Yeah, I think
but,
that the Catholic health system is like big time sports on Long Island nowadays. Like for football too, it's like huge Catholic health schools.
Wait, the Catholic what? Catholic health? What are you saying?
Catholic
Oh,
health.
I
I'm
was
talking about
like-
Catholic health system
Like,
now. I'm
what?
bringing in Good Samaritan
the state
Hospital
of-
into this. No, but Catholic school systems, it's like a major thing in the Northeast now, in Long Island, in New Jersey, Connecticut, like the whole way. Like it's big time. I mean, people getting involved in the sports, and especially football. I mean, it's a huge thing down south, high school football. Like
Oh
that,
yeah,
but
but no,
even
but it's
up-
big on Long Island. It's big
Yeah,
on Long Island.
it's- yeah,
and what's
they're-
funny is like Hofstra, the college I went to, they got rid of their football team.
It's almost like
Well, no,
kill
they,
or be killed. I mean, because there's so many districts that they're really good. So obviously, it's producing scholarships for the high schools and things like that. So they love it. And then there's other districts that they just can't afford the insurance to keep these football
well,
programs
that's the thing.
going.
Like they had a couple. They had Marcus Colson come out of Hofstra. They had Wayne Corbett. Like we were talking about this the other day. They had the bar next to Hofstra was called Corbett. But they had a good team. But it was costing them $4 million a year. And they're
Yeah.
like, screw this. They had 500 people attending. That's really what it was. It
Yeah.
wasn't a moneymaker.
Exactly.
you
I
know?
mean, they were what, D2, D3?
No, D1.
They were really
yeah,
D1?
they're just like the CAA, Colonial Athletic Association. It's like
Okay,
a
yeah,
lower
yeah.
D1. So they're in like the division with Drexel, William and Mary, I think, Northeastern.
Okay.
So they're like, yeah, so like they'll play like Kentucky, like the Blue Bloods at the beginning of the year, like in the before the conference season starts.
Yeah,
They'll get
yeah.
blown out by like 40, 50 points.
But
You
you
kind
know-
of see where you are, and the Blue Bloods love to do that because they like to get some early, easy wins.
get the stats
So,
up.
yeah.
But I think when the smaller schools play the bigger schools like that, the smaller schools actually get paid for those games. Like, so
It's
they
possible.
basically they get paid to take an ass
yeah,
whooping.
Yeah,
So.
yes, yeah. Well, Hofstra's number one though. They're number one in the CAA right now. So, yeah.
I guess they have a pretty good basketball program.
No, they've had a good basketball program. They've had some NBA players come out of there, and yeah, they're first right now. I think they have a game today actually, but no, they've had some NBA players. I don't know if too many good ones, but yeah, they couldn't make it to the tourney, but they were supposed to be there like 2 years ago. They came in first. I think it was a championship game, and ended up losing on a buzzer beater or something like that. It was heartbreaking. So they haven't been there, I think, since maybe like 2000.
Yeah, I don't
but-
remember them being in for a while.
Yeah,
now.
but
St.
they have good
John's too. I
teams.
mean, they've
St.
been down
John's,
also.
they're just a mess.
Other than that, there's not really any like big local college teams. I mean, around us. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. I mean,
Yeah, no, there aren't a lot around here.
the
but
biggest like D1 schools probably to where we are. It's either got to be like UConn or Rutgers, maybe.
Well,
I mean,
Rutgers, yeah, but they haven't been good in a while
Yeah, they
either.
pretty
They're good
much
this
suck
year,
at
though. They're
everything.
good this year, actually. No, they're a big, good basketball team this year.
do they? I really don't know.
Yeah, no, I follow a lot of college basketball.
When it comes to college basketball, even professional basketball, I mean,
well,
you're gonna have to
professional
take it. I
basketball,
mean, I
hate
can't.
it. I can't stand professional, but the
I
All-Star game
haven't
is
paid attention to it in years.
Yeah, All-Star games this weekend.
Is it really?
Yeah, they just had.
Like
I know,
said.
I know. They
Not
just
my
had
cup
the
of tea.
Celebrity All-Star game. Yesterday, I watched a few minutes of that while I was at the gym.
So they still have
Couldn't name one person on there. No, not Justin Bieber. Is that what you're gonna say?
I was gonna say Justin Timberlake. I think he used to play
my
in
God,
it
he
every
would be a
single year.
superstar if he would. There are just nobodies on there. It's like Dancing with the Stars or something. Like
They can't even get like actual
I
celebrities. They
couldn't
have, like,
name
C-listers.
one person on there. They're like it was some guy that they had to put the person's name in a description of who they were. That's when you know
This
it's
is
bad.
why this guy is here.
Yeah, it was like some guy named, I can't even remember his name at all, but it was like the 2016 Grammy for some like weird song, that nobody ever heard of.
He sung
So-
backup on this one song on this album that you may or may not have heard
That's
of.
basically what it was. But
Yeah. What are you gonna do? I mean,
totally off the beaten path. This is just something I wanted to talk about. It's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast. Sort of is, I don't know if you want to call. I don't know what you want to call it. Just the state of the world today. You know, culture. I don't know.
Current
Angry white man
events.
syndrome or something like that.
There you go.
But
I mean, anything.
that's in a nutshell. It's just the crazy, the constant nonsense that you hear about.
Yes, I feel like
So,
we do live in a culture right now.
I feel like
where
my
it's
voice needs to be heard. You know,
There you go.
along with everybody else.
You've
It's
got
part
a
of the problem.
platform out there for
Right.
you.
So
But no, I get what you're talking about. I mean, people are just so ready to like have a visceral, like go viral moment. Like, did you hear about that shit that
Here we
happened
go,
this
yeah.
week? There was a woman on a plane reclining her seat. I guess she had some type of
I know
back
you're
problem, and
talking
the guy punched her
he
seat like
kept
9
punching,
times. Like,
just.
what the fuck is wrong
But
with
he was
people?
he got applauded for that.
Did he?
People like on social media loved him for that because like this woman is invading, is being
Yeah,
a
yeah.
jerk. So he just kept, and it wasn't like violent punches. They were like little,
Yeah.
little jabs. You
But like
know,
that's the thing. Like I feel like what the hell is wrong with people where you can't just be like, "Excuse me, can you just not recline back
Well, that's
so
the
much?"
thing.
Or like, even if it was that big of a deal, did you have to go home and like tweet it out on social media looking?
well,
to,
I don't think he
like-
did it. I think somebody else but could imagine that like someone else is sitting 2 feet away videotaping the whole thing. That's
not
the whole
one person,
problem.
like-
Nobody talks to each other.
Yeah,
like I
exactly.
don't know. This is part of the. There's several problems. One, it's context, right? Did he or did he not say something to her beforehand? We
Yeah.
have no idea because they only want to show the action. They only want to show the good part.
Exactly.
2, you got 3 people there. One's filming it. The 2 people who are actually involved in the altercation or whatever you want to call it aren't speaking. So you got a triangle there of no one actually dealing. No, there's no grown-ups in the room.
Exactly.
That's the problem. I feel like that's it in a nutshell. And then the other problem is the airplanes. Because they want to monetize everything, they just want to make profit. They make the seats too damn close
Yep.
to each other. There's no leg room. There's no space anymore. So if you recline, it's like you got the option, but if you do it, you're a jerk, right?
And by the way, LOT Airlines, I'm going to be flying with you for like 9 hours on April 19th.
what airline is this? LOT? What is
Yeah, I
this?
think it's Polish Airways, but I
Oh.
mean, if you guys could hook something up there, I mean, I'm gonna be on that plane for like 8.5 hours.
No way, they're not
So,
listening. Wait, what is this? LOT airline? This is a Polish
Yeah.
airline? Is that what
Yeah.
he was on?
not the one he was gonna be on, but I'm
Oh.
flying out to Poland in
Oh, so you're
like
just
the end of
throwing that out
April.
there.
So I mean, I'm pretty much ready for this right now. I mean, what that guy was going through, people just leaning back, you're stuck in a little cubicle like this, all scrunched up for freaking 9 hours.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
But still, I feel like if I don't know if it's just me, but I'd be like, okay, why can't you just like say something to somebody like respectfully, like, excuse me, can you please just not do that, or do it for like X amount of time and then
Well, that's
sit
it.
your
That's-
seat back up? Like, what's so difficult about that?
But so I'm saying, I don't know. Did he say something? And could you imagine if she's just like, no, I'm such a jerk that she's gonna,
Nope, I'm gonna do this. Well, I think she did have a back problem, but again, it's
Mm.
just like,
yeah.
how has this become like such
It's
a
just-
viral story? It's like it's nothing. It's just negative bullshit, and people are eating it up.
Well, so that brings one of the stories I heard. I like to watch Good Morning Britain sometimes because I love
Yeah.
Piers Morgan, and so this is a totally real thing. He had somebody on, this woman from PETA, and this is totally real. So they want to ban now the word pet. They want to get rid of the word pet or pets. They don't want you to call your pet that anymore. They want you to call them a human companion now, or just companion.
Like, once again, I am pretty much about as liberal as they come, and that sounds like the biggest like bullshit non-issue. Like,
Well, that's the thing. It's a
who comes up with
non-issue.
this shit?
There's still so many real issues.
Like, and that's the one you pick to freaking go on. Like, all right, whatever.
So
Whatever.
basically, yeah, because in her explanation, this is where, like, this again, how can you not listen to this stuff and become infuriated? And
Yeah.
if you listen to it all day long, I understand why people are just, there's this great divide. People are getting angry because it's crazies like this that basically they're just detached from reality. That's
Yeah.
the way I see it. Like, so her justification is that the pets are not things. It calling them pet. Indicates some kind of ownership over the thing,
You do
So-
own
yes,
it.
you do
I
own
mean,
it.
You
do
purchase
own
it. I mean,
And so of course
it
they had
is
some
yours.
guy sitting right next to her who has a dog, and he makes that exact same point. And he's like struggling. He's like, yes, I do own the thing, And then Piers Morgan made the good point that when you own something, it can actually be a good thing because that means that you take ownership of it. You take responsibility.
Responsibility, yeah.
You have to care for it now. Now you have to feed it. It's your responsibility. So, but it's it's this, and she's trying to defend it, and she's just drowning. Like
Yeah.
every time they bring up a point, they're freaking called PETA. The word pet is in their name. So Piers Morgan just keeps going, well, PETA. How you can't call it
Putting
PETA
it out there, pet.
Are you going to call it companion? Are you going to call it? You got to change
It's
your
a
name.
pretty good point, actually. I mean, Piers Morgan is not somebody that like I tend to agree with on a lot of his issues, but I mean, that's one thing where it's like, good God, I mean, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Of all the fucking issues that we have in this world, that's what they need to go on. And it's like, I almost feel angry with him that he gave that, like,
It gave her a platform. Even
exactly.
They love to. I don't know if it's just the art. Again,
I mean-
even when they have a point, they want these people on because they know it's going to attract viewers.
Yeah, it's going
and
to
they
get
know-
clicks and
yeah, they
views,
love the
and,
controversy and
I'm
all
sure
that.
it was probably hysterical. I'm going to go home and
Oh,
watch it
it's
later. At
absolutely
some
freaking
point.
hilarious, and he does this with all these, all these kinds of people. And it's one of the things, reasons he gets heat for. You just said you don't agree with him a lot on a lot of things, but I feel like you'd probably be surprised if you really listen to him. You probably would agree with him on a lot more things. And that's again, it's like Joe Rogan in the same boat. Joe Rogan, incredibly liberal guy, but look at the shit that he gets from people. Right?
Oh,
There
yeah.
were Bernie Sanders supporters didn't want him to vote for Bernie. You saw that? You saw that controversy?
Yeah, I saw that.
Just
actually.
because they call him a transphobe, as if that's offensive. Is that offensive? I don't know. If I was
some
called a transphobe,
people, I mean,
I'd be
they're
like,
just
okay, I wouldn't care.
like we were saying before. I mean, some people they just want to take offense to something. They just want to be offended, and they just want to, put something out on the internet. So long as they don't have to put their fucking face out there.
Right.
I mean, it's just
No, it's all about who's the more woke person. That actually brought me to another thing: Islamophobia. This is just a thought that I had the other day when I was thinking about it. Yeah, it's all the. Okay, so I don't know. Again, I don't want to blast Democrats. I don't want to add to the hostility, but at the same time, it's so hard not to get upset. You know what I mean? And it's the identity politics. I don't know how you feel about all that, but I feel like you would disagree with it. I don't want to make judgments. But
I mean, when it comes to identity politics, I mean, me personally as a human being, like, I see people now, especially that we're getting into the caucuses now and we're heading up to South Carolina and Nevada. It's like, well, how's the black vote going to impact this? How's the
Right.
Latino vote going to impact this? How are these candidates going to court these votes? And it's like, don't speak to them like they're just like a different type of person. Treat them like they're a fucking human being.
well, that was one of the
Like,
big
the
things. in
same
the last
issues that affect
debate.
whites affect blacks and Latinos as well. Like, I can't stand it when we treat people like they're so fucking different just because of their color. Like, come on.
Well, of course, no, well, of course, everybody can agree that it's you shouldn't be treat people differently. But at the same time, it's hilarious watching these Democrats try to talk about black issues and the people that they're supposed to represent the most. And again,
You look
they're
at the
still
stage,
so
they're
out of
all
touch.
white.
Yeah, well, again,
Just
I don't-
old
that's
white
not a
people.
problem. I don't care about that. Like I hate when the judges ask, oh well, what do you think? That there aren't enough colored people in the debate or yada yada yada. First of all, they're calling Andrew Yang a colored person or people a person of color, whatever the hell. I say colored person again. But-
Asian is going to be, considered
right. Like I've gone that far, and actually, a lot of the Democrats, the ones playing the identity politics, don't like the Asians either because they anyone that's doing well essentially they associate as. It's all about the
Elitist.
power dynamic. Yes, basically, that's what they equate everything to power. If you have power over someone else, or if you have power, period, you must be a bad person, and
Exactly.
you must be brought down. But of course, the craziness is someone's always going to rise up. Someone's always going to fill that void. So unless
Exactly.
you're just going to keep tearing everybody down, that rises up. But of course, they only want their own people to rise up. They want to be the masters now, and they want everyone else to be the slaves. And that's just
People
the
just-
nuts and bolts of it.
And I love it because people have this like altered, skewed version of capitalism where it's like, oh yeah, if we just embrace all these socialist principles, where if it's, we just give away free school and free healthcare and all this, and I'm like, no, at some point you do have to pay for something your fucking self. You have to work yourself, and those people that are more willing to go out there and do and better themselves and get ahead, I mean, you can't fucking hate
You're
on.
talking like a Republican right now.
I mean, I will address that because you will be surprised in terms of like how I vote in terms of politics. But basically, I mean, I can't stand it when people. It's like they almost get pissed off that somebody else did better in life, and that
And that
person
is what
needs
they're
to.
pissed off about.
That person needs to now pay for other people to,
Exactly.
basically freeload off them, and it just makes no fucking sense, and it drives me nuts.
You're right, and you brought up the free school, free healthcare part. Again, it's not free. Somebody's always gonna have
Someone's
to foot
paying
the
for it.
bill. And Bernie Sanders, and they've been pretty clear that their plans are going to cost trillions
of
They're not
dollars.
they don't even care. They're brazen about
Yeah,
it.
I
Bernie
know.
said he's going to raise middle class incomes the taxes by $5,000 each at least. And if he says 5,000, you can be sure it's going to be like 10,000 within a year.
But you know
right?
what? I also love it when they go into things like this, like, oh yeah, when I'm president, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's like, you still have to get it through the House and the Senate. So don't fucking talk like, oh, you're just gonna do it like that. It's not gonna happen like that.
And Bill Maher, who I'll give him credit, we disagree on a lot of things. So I watch him religiously, actually.
Yeah.
But where we agree mostly is on the social issues. But that's one of the things he said. He says, I don't want to hear what you want to do. I want to hear actually how you're going to do it, how you're going to implement, how you're going to get it through the House, how you're going to get it through the Senate, right? You know, and it's the same. The debates are the stupidest formats ever. It's the same
Yes.
nonsensical questions over and over again. We know what their answer is going to be, and it just gets nowhere. And so you just hear, a bunch of people yelling up on the stage. But you talked about
once again, people looking to go viral. They just want to have their quick
But
one-liner,
that was
and
Kamala
they just want to
Harris.
go one. They
Has
just
you
want
ever
to go
seen the
viral.
SNL skits where they
Yep.
just keep making fun of her? She just comes out and just
Yep.
like dances and says one thing.
Cory Booker had a line where it was like, "You're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor."
Right,
And on SNL, they're like, "Yeah, Kamala Harris just made that her new healthcare policy."
There you go.
I
Right,
was freaking
exactly.
dying at
exactly.
that one.
And there you go. They complained they didn't have people of color. No, there are people who could have voted for them, in the polls.
And they chose not to.
And they simply chose not to. So it's this weird dichotomy with the left. It's like they care so much about race and color, but at the same time they will vote for the old 75-year-old white guy who, he says he's going to give them shit. Like Cory Booker said he was going to give them the same shit, but
Yeah.
they didn't want him because
sh-
again, I think it always comes down to authenticity. I think that that's why people love Trump so much. You can say that he lies or whatever, or he's not, but there's an authenticity to him. Like if you ask him a question, he's gonna just he's gonna respond viscerally. Whatever he's
Yeah.
feeling in that moment, that's the answer you're
He's
gonna
not
get.
sugarcoat it
No,
anyway. He's just gonna
exactly.
fucking give it to you, and if
And-
you're offended by
Right.
it, then
And that's why people love
whatever.
Bernie Sanders too. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, his supporters, like, they remind me of Trump supporters in the same way, where they are just devoted religiously to
There's
him,
a
where
lot of
it's like,
comparisons
that's it.
about that now. That he's got just as fervent a tiny base as Trump does. So. But what did I say when I brought up the Islamophobia? Yeah, I hate these little. It's like they care more about the feelings of the Muslim community, and it ties into immigration. It ties, again, it's all about race. And they put the feelings of people who don't even live in this country, who have none of the same values, above people who actually live here. Like who has the I always say this, who has the hardest time to getting into Harvard University? It's the person who lives closest to Harvard. It's the person who lives a
Probably,
block
yeah.
away. The kid in China, who's got amazing. They want him. They're not even looking at the kid block away. They've forgotten about the people that live in their own community. And they want the exotic. They want the
Diversity
They
and
don't
all
want
that.
ideological diversity, of course.
And actually, that brings us up to another topic, but we'll keep on this one. But I know a lot of universities in America, they're just addicted to Chinese and Indian money because, I mean, you get these people that they want to send their kids to the best schools, and frankly, not trying to brag, but if you take a look at the top universities and technical schools every single year, they're in the U.S. or in the U.K., and that's where these people are looking to send
Yeah,
their
no,
kids.
they are, and of course
And-
they fill that void by going and taking foreigners from all over.
And these like big universities like Harvard and Princeton, like these Ivy League schools, they bring in so much cash from just foreign donors and foreigners
the
that are sending
Harvard's
their
endowment
kids.
is the size of
exactly.
most. But again, we're going off the beaten path. But I just
Yeah,
read
but-
an article. I don't care. I just read an article about how the Mormon Church has a $100 billion. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Like it's not, and they compared it to Harvard University's endowment. So the Mormon Church apparently has $100 million stashed away somewhere, $100 billion, excuse me, stashed away somewhere, which is twice as large as
Yeah.
the Harvard endowment. That's why I just thought of that. So you want to talk about a criminal enterprise?
Yeah,
The Mormon Church, they got money.
Yeah.
They got money. They helped build Las Vegas. You know that? Along with went in with the mobsters, Bugsy Siegel, who's a famous Jewish gangster, and then the Italian mafia, of course. They borrowed a lot of money from the Mormons and the Mormon Church, and that's how Las Vegas was built.
it would actually make sense. It's right in their backyard.
Exactly.
I mean,
Utah's right there, Salt Lake City. But yeah, apparently since like 1990, the Mormons have been investing. God only knows how they made their money. They won't release it. They won't, say how
You
they
don't need to
make
see
it
our
or
tax
where it is.
returns.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is. But they since 1990, they built like this huge investment firm, and they apparently have like $100 billion stashed away somewhere.
Wouldn't
So
surprise me. I mean, would anybody be surprised about, other big religious organizations? I mean, there's still rumors about the Catholic Church holding, billions of dollars and billions of Swiss francs from plundered, Holocaust victims and things like that. So,
oh well, the church,
yeah.
everyone knows it, but they've lost a lot of money ever since, unfortunately, the pedophile scandal. Because
Yeah,
they had a lot of it in like lands. They used to own a lot of stuff, a lot of land, a lot of things, but they had to sell them away for a lot of the lawsuits.
yeah. I mean,
But yeah, of
it
course,
doesn't
they saw a
surprise me. I
ton
mean,
of money.
we were just talking about where I grew up. I mean, there was a priest that was accused of molesting children in one of the Catholic churches in West Babylon. So, I mean, it
Oh,
is an
really?
issue that
Yeah.
really, I mean, it made its rounds around the community. So,
Did you ever see the movie Spotlight?
I have not actually.
Great movie. I thought I was gonna hate it because
What's it about?
It's about the Catholic Church, the whole scandal, breaking it about how the Boston Globe broke the scandal, basically. Like people it was sort of out there, but they went around and really investigated like hundreds of victims and priests, and they're the ones who broke. You don't remember? You know
Yeah.
you don't know the movie. You didn't know the
I know the story, but I'm
Oh.
surprised I didn't hear about the movie.
yeah.
I mean,
Spotlight
is it recent?
won Oscar the best film in 2015.
Shit,
Yeah.
something.
No,
Sometimes
it's all
I'm
good.
so
Like
illiterate in
Mark
these things.
Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams.
Oh,
Watch
shit.
it. It's great. It's really
Yeah,
good movie.
something once again, right after I get done with that skit of freaking PETA, wanting to call
Oh yeah, you
dogs
gotta watch
freaking
that.
companions, I'll put that on the
There's
playlist.
a lot of hilarious shit on Good Morning Britain. But you brought up about how there's still, I'm sure the church has well they worked with the Nazis, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, I
and-
mean, it
and
was
so
called the
about
Nazi rat line to help
he
them
went
get
to
out.
the Pope. The Nazis they kind of they knew, I'm not gonna say they knew the Pope, but they asked him for help. And of course the Pope before Francis was accused of having Nazi ties.
The
Jesus.
German one. What
Yeah,
was
I
it?
know. I can't remember his name now.
Benedict or something.
Yeah, there you go. Pope Benedict. There you
There
go.
you go.
Nice. There you go. See? Who says a Jew can't know? But
You know something? I'm one of those weird people that, I mean, I pay attention to politics in like all these different
Right,
countries,
right,
whether
right.
it be freaking Canada, Britain, France, Germany, Australia, Japan, China, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine. I mean, I'm all
Yeah.
kinds of into that shit. So little nuggets like that, you'll find that, oh yeah, I've got that.
And there's still a lot of Jewish, unfortunately, paintings, all sorts of things that they set up that law in Germany. They passed that law so that Jewish victims could sue the state and try to recover
Yeah.
a lot of these old paintings. There's still like hundreds. They found some old German guy, I think, who died a few years ago. He in his apartment, they found hundreds of
Yeah, I
Nazi-
do
remember
remember
that
that.
story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he
Hundreds-
didn't like have anybody to will anything to, and like
Yeah, I
when the
think
junk
so.
men came to the apartment, I was
Right.
like, what
It's
the
hundreds
fuck?
of paintings worth like millions of dollars. So there's still like an untold fortune.
Well, I mean, there was
left out there.
there was also another movie that was done recently with Ryan Reynolds. It was a few years ago. It
Oh,
was like the
yeah,
woman
the woman.
Woman in Gold or something
yes,
like that.
yeah,
About
I
like
saw that
she was
actually, I
trying to
think.
recover a
Yeah, that was a good
painting that the
movie.
Austrian government had. So
Right. Yeah, it was one painting, right? I think.
I think so.
But it was worth a pretty good amount. That was a good movie. Yeah.
yeah,
think-
I didn't see it, but I
Sh-
do remember hearing
Yeah,
about
she
that
ends
one.
up getting it when she's like 80 years old or something like that.
Yeah, at least she got it back.
Yeah, well, most people don't.
Yeah,
Most people don't.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, my grandmother always tells the story. I mean, she wound up fleeing from Vienna when she was like 5, 6 years old. I mean, she was young, and she still remembers her aunt that was, still back in Austria at the time, had written the last letter they ever received from her. And basically, the gist of it was, I don't know what the hell you're running from. Business has never been better. And that was really the last that they ever heard of her, because in 36, the war broke out, and then, God only knows what happened to her. So, I mean,
Wait, say this. Who this letter? It was a letter, you said?
yeah, my grandmother had always told the story that
Right.
essentially she had an aunt that had, written back to her father at the time saying, I don't know what the hell you guys are running from. I mean,
Oh,
business has
okay.
really never been better.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure if you fit the right niche in, Austria back in, 35, I guess you could, find yourself making tons of money. But,
Sure.
for a Jewish person, that would probably still be pretty damn risky. But like I said, the war broke out in 36. That was really the last they ever heard from her. So
Mm.
and I'm sure there's still tons of people that still have stories like that. Which, how many relatives did you lose? Couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And again, we talked about this last time. But
Yeah,
they,
really
75th
morbid
anniversary.
topics sometimes come up on this
Yeah, no,
podcast,
hey,
but I
it is
mean,
what
it's
it
something
is.
that you got to
It's
address.
interesting. Yeah, no, of course.
I mean, when you want to talk about current events of today, I mean, it all kind of circles back sometimes.
Well, that's what I always find so fascinating is the people that, like, we have to remember this stuff, but the people that actually, like, make documentaries and go out and interview people and get footage and all that, like, who are those people? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to do that in my mind, but I'm never going to actually go and, you know what I mean?
Do you know how much research and how many years it takes to like, put that shit together?
I really appreciate, I appreciate those people. You have to appreciate those people. You know, the people that say, like, oh, I'm going to go, or even history much further back. I mean, the people that actually, who the hell says I'm going to go pick up and, excavate a dirt in Egypt? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can go find some artifact. I mean, that takes,
like, you're just going to dedicate your, like, basically your life to something right now where it's like this may or may not yield anything at all. I mean, you might just literally dig a big fucking hole in the ground and find nothing. It's
that's why, a lot of them were usually like rich people who were doing
you have
it
to
for
have
a
somebody
hobby.
to donate.
And then they can, like, hire a team or something like that. But still, that always just blows my mind. People that
hey, if that's what you're passionate about, that's what you're passionate about. I mean, good for them.
That brings me to the book I've been reading. Empire of the Summer Moon. You ever hear that a book?
Enlighten me.
Oh, all right. Well, it kind of, that spirit I'm talking about, that pioneering drive, that will to just go into the unknown and risk it all. Basically, Empire of the Summer Moon is about it's about the Indians and then the frontier, and about how the settlers came west and manifest destiny and all that, but it mainly just focuses on the violence of it all. I mean, it's more, you read a book like this, you forget, really, just like again, it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, this was all throughout the 1800s, essentially.
Ago,
Not even, it was certainly at the end of the 1800s, it was still, even early 1900s.
Yeah. Think about 100 years ago at that point. I mean,
the book starts off talking about 1836 in Texas. That was still just completely uncharted territory by at least by white people. I mean, the Spanish had been there, and it touches a bit upon the Spanish brutality. I mean, those guys were just, I mean, first of all, again, I was, the culture right now is to try to tear down the pioneers. Side note, Oregon, maybe State University or one of those, their symbols, no, not Oregon State, I forget, some Oregon college, maybe it's Portland, they have like a pioneer as like their mascot. So now they want to get rid of it all. They want to tear down the pioneer statues because, of course, it represents white supremacy, as it does.
Although
go ahead.
Because I had read an article, actually, there was some local high school mascot. It was, how everybody's trying to get the Redskins.
You always hear those stories, yeah.
You know how everyone's petitioning the Redskins to change their name in the NFL? It's a racist name.
Of course.
There was another, like, local high school. I forget where it was, somewhere in the Midwest, and they, of course, their mascot was Redskins. And the town voted, okay, we're going to change this to Red Hawks or whatever it was. And literally within 6 months, everybody on the school board got voted out. All new, like, old senior, like, white people got voted in. They said, nope, you know something? We're changing it back. Like, we're putting it right back to Redskins.
I'm like,
oh, come on.
Well, that, again, I've got just so many things like firing little stories I'm thinking of right now that I just want to get out. I don't know if I can remember them all. But that brings me to, I was just listening to the Hofstra radio station a few days ago, and they have like an Irish morning show or something like that.
Okay.
And the woman brought up that topic. She's like, "Oh God, I really wish that Notre Dame would get rid of the Fighting Irish symbol because it's so offensive, isn't it?"
To who?
I'm like, first of all, we're playing this game.
Like the Redskins one, I could actually see like people being offended by it. Like,
but that's
the Fighting Irish is offensive now. To
Indians
who?
or Native Americans, they're not offended by they're not like from the articles I read. There's basically only like maybe a handful of real like Native Indians that are protesting, and it's mostly white people that are in arms
and
about
believe it or
for
not,
them.
I believe I had read also that in terms of the Native Americans that were protesting that name, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but the actual like argument that they were trying to make was they wanted the Redskins to be stripped of their trademark on the name Redskins so that they can start to sell products under the name Redskins.
Smart. That I'm okay with. Business.
That's basically
capitalism.
what the gist of their argument was. I mean, so they want to use if you're going to use the name Redskins, why the fuck can't we? So that was, one of the arguments that they were making. And I guarantee you in a courtroom, that one would probably hold up more water than anything else.
I guess. I don't know. Can they take that for themselves
You know,
just because they're like, can I take the Fighting Irish symbol just because I'm Irish? You know what I mean?
I
But
think actually they did lose the exclusive trademark to Redskins, but I mean, in actuality, I mean, you're still gonna sell the same products. I mean, it didn't really affect their business.
but it's
that
supposed to be
drastically.
like a term of, I don't want to say endearment, but
They didn't mean it to be
embodies
that-
the warrior spirit. The same
Yeah.
thing as like the Fighting Irish. Like it's not supposed to be a drunken Irishman. That wouldn't be exactly emblematic of someone who's yes, they fight when they're drunk, but if they don't mean it as like a term that's divisive or an invective that's supposed to like be derogatory towards Irishmen. Like the Fighting Irish, they're known for fighting. They're known for being warriors. Same as Redskins. Or just Indians, the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah,
That's another
they
big
took
one.
Chief Wahoo off there.
Yeah,
they got
they're
rid
getting
of that
it now. Like
but
it's like
they still
okay, but
keep
you're
the
still
name.
called the Indians. How
Yes.
stupid is that? It's just
Like-
childish,
Yeah.
But it's these woke white people that like, oh, I'm gonna be a civil rights activist for, I'm gonna feel sorry for these people who don't give a crap, but they should because I know better, because I'm so
because
woke.
I
and so
know better than you
Right,
guys.
that's
You're
what
going to
I'm
be
saying.
offended on my
Again,
behalf.
Bill Maher says it all the time. Don't be more offended than the victim.
Yeah.
It's nonsensical. But back to my Empire of the Summer Moon. Sorry,
Circle it
Yeah,
all
circle-
back to where
exactly.
we started.
But basically, it just it talks about just the horrific nature of the frontier and how, again, not that long ago, it was completely unknown to us. Texas in 1836, it chronicles focuses mainly on the Parker family, who was a clan living there of about 18 of them. In Texas in 1835, they were given thousands upon thousands of acres of land, and they built like a little fort there in the middle of nowhere in Texas. But the crazy thing is they knew that there were hostile Indians everywhere. Like they knew this and just didn't care.
They still were going for it.
Right. Well, and one of the things the author talks about is how a lot of these settlers did this because they feared God more than they feared the Indians. Like they were such devout Calvinists, and they just believed in manifest destiny, and that they were going to be rewarded for their hard work, and all that they just, it's like they knew that the Indians could come and kill them, but I guess they just thought
They're willing to press forward in the name of God.
this is what they got, all that, and so apparently they just left the door open one day, literally, like left the gate open. They built this big gate, left the gate open one day, and of course, then come riding the Comanches. And that's another thing. I didn't know that it talks about the Comanches. It focuses mainly on the Comanches and Quanah. Quanah was this well-known leader of the Comanches, who was actually half white, half Indian. And his mother was one of the Parkers. She was kidnapped and raped by the chief and had a son. And so he, they didn't even know this. So they're fighting this guy. They didn't come to find this out till much later after that he was actually half white and spoke English.
He just kept it under wraps.
Well, I guess, but it was a common thing for the Indians to do, especially the Comanches, because the biggest thing they were losing, they needed to replenish their numbers because they were dying off at such a high rate. Because it was the Spanish coming first, right, in the 1600s.
They just wiped them
They're
out
the
with
ones
like
just plowing
smallpox.
through.
Well, I mean,
Well,
think of
disease was
diseases,
a big thing. Some people will talk about the genocide of the Native Indians. It's like there's a lot more to that story. First off, when the first Pilgrims came, the irony is when the first Pilgrims come on the Mayflower, of course there are people here already, like I said, the Spanish. But when the Pilgrims come, 100 of them on the Mayflower, the first thing the Indians say is, "Hey, we'll show you." As they're starving the Pilgrims, we'll show you how to plant corn in this really tough New England soil if you give us your English muskets and a few men and go help kill our rivals over here. So that was the first sort of exchange right there. And of course, they just by luck, remember 50 of them died that first winter of
trying
starvation.
To survive.
But they just happened to run into the famous Indian who's, oh my God, not Sacagawea. I forget now. His name is eluding me. I'm sure it'll come. I think it starts with a Q
Tonto
also.
or Quinto.
Quinto. Was it Quinto, I think?
I think it might have been Quinto.
He was. He speaks English. Or enough English because he was actually a slave in
he had
Britain.
Escaped and gone back.
And he was there. He had spent a year over there, and so he was actually just by fate. Nobody else spoke English really,
But he happened
So
to be
he
there,
happened to be there, And as they're dying, so they make this trade. They could take their English muskets to go help them kill their enemies, and they learn how to, plant corn and in the tough New England soil. But yeah, the Parkers, they're of course like 5 of them are killed, and the way they're killed is just brutal. I mean,
Well, we're going for clicks here. I mean,
well,
go ahead and go into this one.
Shot by bow and arrows at like this incredibly close range.
Native American firing squad.
Yeah, stabbed, lanced throughout the body. Still alive, mind you. I think his genitals cut off. Still alive, mind you.
All right, never mind. Don't go into any more detail.
Scalped while alive. That was, of course, their biggest thing was scalping you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you were alive when you were being scalped. Because that wouldn't necessarily kill you, just missing the top.
Want to make you like suffer as much as
of
possible.
Course. Can you imagine it? Just like
Your
missing the top.
brain
I
is
can't
just
even.
shut.
I can't. And being alive. What do you do? Do you live? Do you bother? Like, what do you do? How do you go?
I would be like, just fucking kill me. Just fucking kill me.
I would too. Forget about it. But yeah, I mean, the savagery. Talking about how they would time. First of all, you killed men on sight. That was there was no two ways about it. Or you tortured them to death. A lot of times the women stood a better chance of survival, but most of the times, of course, you raped them and or took them as slaves, and then probably eventually killed them. Babies you automatically killed. Little girls now, of course, had like the bet, like maybe a 50-50 shot. Usually you're going to be raped again, but they wanted to bring you into the tribe again because they needed numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't think they cared so much about the way you look, but they wanted to replenish their numbers. So a lot of times they would adopt you into the culture. So it wasn't weird to see, Caucasians, whites traveling, with the Indians, or for like a Quanta to be half white and half, Native Indian. Yeah. So, but another incredibly interesting thing I thought was that when he talks about how the Spanish came through, it was more systematic. So what they did basically was the army went first. So the army would fight whoever was there, kill them, and then the settlers came afterwards. The pilgrims, the pioneers, was the people went first without any armies. They were the front lines. They were the ones who experienced most of the fighting, like these settlers in Texas in the 1830s. So they were the ones who fought the Indians and died, and then the military and the civilization, everything kind of came later, swept through afterwards. So I just thought that was really an interesting thing, but. Yeah, I mean, life on the frontier, I can't even imagine it. That's why
trying to survive like that, you gotta hunt for your food and all that good jazz. Like if you actually get injured, you break a leg or something out there, it's like nope. You just gotta
forget about it. You're like a horse. Just shoot yourself. I mean, and that was and again, also people always think of Indians as riding horses. First of all, horses weren't even introduced in America until the Spanish bring them over. The Mustang. Which is actually kind of a small horse in comparison to like the bigger, farm horses over in Europe, in the Middle East and stuff. But they were perfect for the arid, dry desert over there. Yeah. So that's why they were able to thrive over there. And so, they didn't have any horses. Most even throughout, the 16th, 17th, 1800s, the Indians didn't even fight on horseback. Only the Comanches were the real horse-like warriors. And again, crazy thing. They came from a tribe of about 5,000 of these apparently like ugly, tiny, malnourished Indians who nobody else liked and everybody else picked on, right? And so they had no technology of any kind. They didn't have there was no technology to begin with.
They didn't have
fire,
but
they were
yet.
Garbage compared to the Indian standards. Like they didn't have pottery. They didn't make anything. Like they literally just lived off of eating, like drinking buffalo blood and eating buffalo. Yeah, I mean it's insane. There's only about 5,000 of them.
It's like The Revenant, where like the dude kills the buffalo and just starts fucking eating it raw.
That's basically what they did, and that was a lot. I mean, that was a lot of people's situations on the frontier, even white people too. If they got stranded or they got screwed, it was like you killed your horse first, and then you ate it or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you do what you got to do at that point. I mean, it's like.
And so the Comanches, once they kind of meet up with the Spanish as they push south from Oklahoma, which is Wisconsin, I think was where they originally were, and they meet up with the Spanish, and eventually over time they learn how to breed the horses. They break them, they learn how to ride them, they learn how to shoot arrows while riding them, and so they're really the only ones that ever really mastered the horse out of the Indians, which turns them from these weak little nothings who got picked on into
Bunch of
the
badasses.
powerhouse. Yeah, they had the biggest territory out of any of the Indians. I think only maybe the Apaches or somebody else rivaled them. But yeah, they become absolute savages, and they just they're the ones that Quanah becomes this fierce leader, and they pose by far the biggest problems to the settlers as they move west. But people always want to, the liberals. Oh God, white people are horrible. They committed all this genocide. All right, I get it. Yep. The disease, first of all, nobody could prevent. I mean, there's no way to have known that.
There was no, preventatives.
Yeah, they even want to go after the Spanish now. There's a lot of Spanish statues and stuff like that. But they forget that the Mexican army was here. They used to battle and kill a lot of Indians. And again, what happened usually was they killed settlers or took settlers as prisoners, and then usually the army would come in response.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they weren't usually going out and killing Indians first, and then and just trying to wipe them out. But of course, a lot of my point is, life was hard for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Of course. I mean, could you imagine living in the 1800s?
No,
I can't even comprehend
actually.
it. Of course, you're gonna be a mean, savage beast. You know what I'm saying? It was kill or be killed.
Think about it. Living in the 1800s, I mean, with the Civil War, I mean, amputation was like the number one means of like saving somebody if they got shot in one of their limbs. So.
Yeah, and you were just as likely to die from ether,
getting infected in the wound because they weren't fucking cleaning their blades or anything
bro,
like that.
They didn't know about any of that yet.
Modern surgery and all that.
Oh my! Even during the Civil War, yeah. I mean, if you had your leg shot or something, they just did a live amputation. Maybe they had opium if you were lucky. Maybe they had some alcohol.
Give you a little bit of whiskey, and that's it.
But
Here you go.
Yeah, ether was the popular thing too. That was the way they could. If you needed dental work, there was nothing.
Yeah, they were just gonna rip that shit out.
Yeah, and then eventually they come at like the cocaine and the little. People took cocaine in like the early 1900s for like every little ailment.
Everything.
Like it was in coke, right? Obviously, that's where.
Well, apparently also there rumors with Adolf Hitler. I think that he was also very much hooked on cocaine and methamphetamines. I mean, he was taking tons of different uppers and downers and things for his diet.
He apparently had cocaine eye drops. He apparently couldn't get out of bed in the morning
without coke,
without taking a cocaine, and he was on a whole amphetamines, a whole slew of things.
A video actually just emerged a few months ago of him at like the 33 Olympics, and he's just tweaking on meth. He just can't sit still. He's just
is the 36 Olympics, I think, right?
I think it was 36. I think
yeah,
it was
36.
Yeah, he probably was.
Every 4 years,
I could be
and
wrong.
it would be an even number year anyway. But yeah, I think it's 36.
Right. But either way, I mean, it's him in the crowd, watching some of the races, and he's just freaking tweaking.
That must have been incredible, right?
Back then, it's like they probably didn't know, but I mean, nowadays you look at a video like that, you go, he's fucking tweaking. I recognize that behavior. He's fucking tweaking.
Yeah, well, then he had Parkinson's later on in his life. So this video of him in his left hand is always shaking,
and he always used to keep it behind his back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so he was a hot mess. He was just a hot mess.
But I mean, also I think the Nazi soldiers, they used to hop them up on methamphetamine during the Blitzkriegs.
That's a popular thing. You'll see shows.
End.
They talk about the super soldier. How they used to. Americans kind of did it too, to a much lesser extent. But they used to take a lot of amphetamines. The German soldiers
keep them going.
Yeah, so they always talk about them being the toughest fighters. Yeah, I wonder why. Why.
Yeah, I mean, there's some rationale there.
Yeah, that it kind of makes me think of like when I used to bounce and some guy would be hopped up on drugs or something. He was pretty damn hard to fight and put down. They would just keep coming. You punch him in the face, he would just he'd be bleeding from every orifice, and he would just keep coming.
It's like the Cat Williams joke where he's like, crackheads, they'll weeble and they wobble, but they won't fall down.
It's true.
They'll fight you all night for $11.
My goodness, yeah. I mean, imagine being on adrenaline for starters, and then being hot. You can't feel a thing. Forget about it. You are a super soldier.
Yeah, basically. I mean, think about it. There was like the rush to the sea, to Dunkirk, and it's like, how did they make it that fast? Well, I mean, it wasn't just the Panthers and the Panzers and Blitzkrieg. I mean, they were fucking hopped up on a lot of drugs.
Yeah. All right, you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take 5.
Let's take a few. All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And we're back.
Back again. Let's do it.
That was just a quick little break, little timeout. So I hope nobody went anywhere. So don't
Hope
worry,
not.
we're still here.
Got
So, yeah,
got
what are we
another
talking
hour
about?
to kill.
Huh? Another hour to kill?
Yeah.
Well,
So what do you want to do? You want to talk some football, some baseball, some UFC? What do you want to do?
I don't know. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Any particular? Well, what's going on with football's over? You watch the XFL?
You know something? I caught some clips of some of the games on. They had them on at the gym. I mean, the head coach of I guess it's the New York Guardians of their team is Kevin Gilbride. And
We have a New York XFL team?
Yes, we
Oh,
do.
man.
I think they actually play at MetLife Stadium.
Really?
Yeah, I think a lot of these teams are actually playing in NFL stadiums.
Does
If-
Donald Trump own a team right now, or no?
No,
Is that
he
it?
used to own a team in the USFL. I'm not sure if he owned one in the former XFL or not, but
Oh, he wanted to. I think they didn't let him in. is
there
what
was
happened.
that was the NFL back in the day. He was
Oh,
trying.
the NFL too, but I think the XFL too. I think.
I'm not really sure what happened with that. I know back when the USFL was going on back in the 80s, he eventually pushed the idea too hard of them switching their games from springtime football to fall football.
Oh right.
And as soon as they went up against the NFL, the league just collapsed. But he wound up suing them, saying that they had a monopoly on the sport and that they should pretty much just invent a team and give it to him, not just let him buy a team. They should
Really?
just give him a franchise.
Did you see that in California now? They're trying to pass a law that will ban anyone in California from staying at a Trump hotel. Anyone that's politically connected or anything like that.
Yeah, they're doing some crazy shit out there. I know they tried to establish an open primary system where basically it's just the top two vote getters are going to go on to the ticket, irregardless of what their party is. And it basically almost really came back to bite them this time around because it almost wound up where they had too many Democratic candidates and they almost wound up with two Republican candidates on the ticket for senator. So it
we
really,
don't want that.
really
Well, what's
almost
funny
fucked
is
themselves.
California
I mean,
used to be, even not that long ago, 15 years ago, was an incredibly conservative Republican state.
yeah,
I mean,
Arnold
hey,
Schwarzenegger ran as a Republican and won.
right, well, yeah,
I mean,
well, he
think
was
about
also Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
Yeah, I mean,
Ronald
but-
Reagan, those days, I mean, that was
Orange
not that
County
long
was
ago.
the bastion, of Republican.
It's still
modern
a pretty
Republican.
big Republican conservative area.
Yeah.
But yeah, things have told. Well, as
Well, I mean, in the 2018 election, I know basically every single seat in Orange County flipped from Republican to Democrat, which was a major shock to a lot
Really?
of people. Yeah.
well, what's just so funny about it all? Again, it's really mostly changed. Again, they're always liberal on the coast. We all know that. But what's so funny is basically as all the Mexican and South American migrants have come in, and now there's what are they 60% of the state or something incredible like
you
that.
got me.
Well,
Have
but
to look it up.
They're more
But I
they're
wouldn't
more South
surprise me.
Americans than there are Caucasian people. But I just find it so funny is how liberal they are in promoting South Americans' rights and driver's license. But at the same time, they've all fled to Washington and Oregon. I think at some point there was like 500,000 Caucasians leaving every year or something like that.
Actually, I think I had also read another story in terms of demographic shifts. The state of California being so damn expensive to live in, and essentially with all these wildfires and earthquakes and drought and all the things that they're dealing with, so many people are saying, you know what? Fuck this, and they're actually moving back towards the center of the country where they expect Texas is going to start creeping up in terms of population and almost leveling off
Oh yeah,
in
you're
terms of
going
the
to see
electoral
big
college.
time.
I mean, think about it. Texas, I mean, it's a warm state. You have no state tax. I mean, it's growing like crazy.
Well, that's the thing. If you want to get into taxes now, a lot of people. That's why so many New Yorkers, when they get old, move to Florida or Texas. Those places don't have income tax.
I was actually just talking to my friend Kurt from down in Florida yesterday, believe it or not, and we got into the conversation of, Carolinas are where it's at. So many people, whether they
North
be young
Carolina,
or
South-
old,
yeah.
I mean, they're all moving down there because it's so much cheaper and more affordable.
Right.
I mean, it's just what it is. Every time I go down there, you talk to people. I haven't really met 10 people there that are actually from the Carolinas. They're all from
Yeah,
either
right,
New York,
right,
New
right.
Jersey, Connecticut.
Yeah, I have relatives
Like,
down there now.
yeah.
They're living down there. They got jobs down there. They
Yeah.
love it down there.
Like,
so,
Half my mom's family all lives in the Carolinas
Yeah,
now. I mean, it's just
yeah.
so much cheaper.
but that brings up one of the most critical debates I would say, and certainly in America right now, is taxes. How do you pay for things, right?
Well, that brings us right back to Bernie Sanders and the liberals.
Well, right,
like, how are we going to pay for this
Bernie
shit, guys?
Sanders versus the Republicans and Trump, which is the philosophy of lower taxes, and then that will spur investment. People will have more money in their pockets, which is an absolutely correct idea. It's been proven. Maybe not trickle down economics, but certainly that notion that lower taxes, it's so evident in people moving down to Florida, going to Texas, right? And now Singapore, one of the richest countries in the world. How did they get so wealthy? It was because they had I think they had no capital gains tax. I think the highest income bracket, something like 13% there. There's literally no taxes. They don't have a welfare system, but everyone's doing well. Yeah. And so they brought in all this outside investment. And so now it's one of the richest cities in the world. So, for the Democrats, places like New York, stuff like this with these incredible high tax rates, and the Bernie Sanders of the world or the AOCs, they're looking at it like, well, we haven't taxed people enough. So they're looking at it from the total, incorrect lens of it. Their perspective is it's all skewed. And one of the things they love to do is, well, look at Eisenhower in the 50s. The taxes were as high as 90%. And so they're looking at it like, well, we haven't gone that high, so what we're doing is not that bad.
We haven't gotten up to taking 90% of your income away yet.
Right. It's like, Jesus, first of all, just different times, did it for different post-war economy.
At that point, we were literally 10 years removed from a world war, and we were in the middle of a nuclear arms buildup that was going crazy.
That's when we were making an incredible amount of money at that time.
Yes,
now and one of the biggest misconceptions people have, especially Democrats like AOC, who just don't know their history, it says she wants to pass the Green New Deal. She wants to do an FDR sort of New Deal, right? But the New Deal didn't really work to get us out of the Great Depression.
It was World War
II. It was the war.
All of a sudden, people had to go back to work.
We doubled the war. Well, not doubled the war, but women came into the workforce to replace men. So we had a much bigger labor pool, and now we were manufacturing things. We were making things on the regular. So the New Deal is the government, creating jobs isn't the answer to everything.
No, that's a short-term fix. It's not going to be a long-term solution. That's just how it is.
Yeah. So it's great that. We absolutely should pass an infrastructure bill. Even Trump wants to pass $1 trillion infrastructure bill. And the crazy thing is that they say our infrastructure is really going to cost $3 trillion or something like that. So
something that's an investment that needs to be made.
Well,
that pays
smart,
back for everyone.
Democrats and Republicans agree on that, and they have been agreeing on that, but they can't even get the things done that they agree on.
You know what that is?
And that's what's so frustrating.
That's a lot of people who say, I don't want somebody else to get credit for something, so I'm willing to allow people to fucking suffer and have shitty highways and bad sewer systems and lead in their water and, shitty education and all that stuff. But it's in actuality, it's because you don't want to hand somebody else a win. You don't want to say, hey, this guy got this pushed through, the House and the Senate, and he got to sign it into law. So that's really, what's going to come back to. It's just, some people just have sour grapes, just like we were saying at the start of this show. It's just how it is.
Right.
People just want to be negative all the time.
I'm always shocked when I hear about things like that, like a Flint, Michigan, which is supposed to be right up the Democrats' alley. They're supposed to be solving things like that. Here, black people need water, drinking water, and it's they're more concerned with the blacks living in Africa and their drinking water than they are the ones who are in their own backyard. Again, the people who have the most, who struggle the most, the people closest. They care more about people living in other countries. They don't understand. Yeah. This is my basic philosophy, that as human beings, we all have a responsibility to help one another. Right? I think that's.
Yeah.
But. But that doesn't mean you have to let people into your country from other countries. You can help them where they are. I've always been what happens if everyone from South America migrates here into America, and then South America is just abandoned or left to the cartels? You can't have that either.
On that same vein, that's basically what happened in a large sense in terms of Europe and their migration crisis. In terms of Libya and Syria, a lot of people said, we don't want to have to send troops or allocate money or resources to help, end these civil wars and, fix these shitty humanitarian situations. And what happened was you just had all these fucking people migrating and finding their way into Italy, into Turkey, into the Balkans. and they just swept up. And initially,
Dude, Italy's crazy.
yeah, initially, back in 2013, 14, 15, a lot of Germans and Central Europeans were very welcoming and accommodating, saying,
Right.
hey, if these people, they're running from all this stuff, after the memory of the Holocaust, we should let them in and help us. And then after, a few weeks and months and, eventually years start to go by, and you're just seeing more and more and more and more people coming in. They just need help. It's like, how much of this burden are we going to fucking take on? And that's when you're starting to see this now, where all these central, governments are starting to be toppled by either far left or far right, governments that are coming in. It's a reaction to that in so many different ways.
Right, and the other problem is doing it all at once. What Merkel tried to do was she said I'm going to let in 1,000,
Yeah,
1 million,
exactly.
Assyrian refugees, and it's like by the time they got to like a few hundred thousand, it's like holy crap, we're a
How-
little overloaded here.
Yeah, what are we going to
You
do?
know, and one of the
here?
reasons you let in these immigrants, and in Germany's case, was they needed the labor, right? They had a shortened, didn't have enough people to do the sort of menial tasks, the ones that really make the economy run, which is the biggest reason for illegal immigration here and the hiring of illegals. Is
Basically,
because
I mean, the
there's
service
those jobs,
industry,
right?
yeah.
You need those people to do that. Again,
We're
Americans
just not willing to do it
other than
anymore.
not so much, it's just kind of been phased out over time as
Yeah.
we became a wealthy, rich country. You sort of, lose respect. Yeah, you could say people lose respect for those jobs, but as they should be, they should have higher aspirations. They should be more inclined to, not want to be a janitor and do a better job. And that brings the minimum wage. That like I'm all in favor of a minimum wage because even a minimum wage keeping up for inflation would be higher than the minimum wage is now. It would be something about $12 if it kept with inflation. I think right now what is minimum wage? $8.50 or something like that. I forget.
In New York, it's
But
probably somewhere.
It's far more.
$10.
Again, well, the
something like
states is
that, yeah.
different. The individual states have some of them have passed laws of $15 minimum wage.
Yeah.
Some of them are trying to pass $20 minimum wage. Like you got to have certain controls. I'm all in favor of a minimum wage because, as you can see, if businesses could, they would pay people like $1. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
If
you
they
know,
could get
Scott,
away with it.
I do also love that topic because it actually makes me laugh. There were fast food protests and things like that. Like, we deserve $15 an hour. I'm like, you can go ahead and get that passed, but you know what McDonald's and Burger King and all these countries are going to do? They're just going to replace you with automation. It's going to be so much cheaper for them. Like,
Well, that brings
it's,
up another
you know
huge.
what, if in those situations, like, you should be saying, okay, I'll take, $13 an hour. Let sleeping dogs lie in certain scenarios, because if it gets too expensive for these companies, they're just going to replace you with automation.
Well,
Machines
not
don't
even
take,
be automation yet. Like I think we're still a little ways away from that. But
that's where it's
no, that is
trending
where
towards.
that is definitely where it's heading. But first off, where did they come up with $15? It's really just an arbitrary number.
Yeah, it really is.
Like I said, if you want to keep up with inflation, it's like 12 something. They're like, 15 has a nice ring to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what it was.
sounds good, so let's go
Exactly.
with that.
But what to do even before we get to the automation age is they will just say, hey, we're going to cut back on the number of employees because now if we're paying each one of you more, then we can't have more of you, right? So they're gonna
Exactly.
cut a few off, and so now more people are going to be out of jobs. And then, you'll have a few people making a little bit more. But again, it's not like a huge leap. It's, I don't know how much it's really going to affect you and your income. But one of the things businesses did a few decades ago was they started to pay people less, and what they did was they gave you benefits instead, and that's that's kind of making a real resurgence now. Is they're paying people less and they're giving them health care, they're giving them other benefits. So
Although I will say that, I've gone on just quite a few interviews in the last month, and basically what a main theme that I've been hearing from a lot of these companies is, yes, we do offer benefits, but believe it or not, it's actually cheaper and better for you to just stay on the exchange. I've actually had 2 companies in the last week tell me that, like, yes, if you need health insurance and stuff like that, we can accommodate it, but if you're on the exchange, our recommendation is just stay on it. It's going to be cheaper. Fortunately, knocking on wood, I haven't had to use anything, in the last 4 years, but that's, kind of where it's heading.
yeah, so what you've been looking for jobs? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Literally, I've been on like 6 interviews in the last 6 weeks, so every week I've been going on one.
Now, what was your major in college?
Business management.
And where'd you go?
I went to Farmingdale State.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, my brother went there. He's about to graduate from there.
Small world,
I
man.
think business also something.
Yeah, something. They've
Yeah.
actually done a crazy job building up that campus.
Yeah,
the last like 10 years or so, they've revamped everything. When I was, still going there, it was in the middle of the transition where it was either really old, shitty buildings, and then it was just modern, blow you away, freaking beautiful ass buildings that had gone up. So I would assume by now they've pretty much revamped the entire campus over there.
Yeah, no, it looks really nice. He's actually taken, like, again, he's like, this is one of the things that I love, but I mean it sarcastically about college, is he's taking like an art class down. He's taking like, he came in yesterday, I saw him the other day, he had like a giant canvas of like a ball, like he literally drew like a ball on a giant piece of paper. And I'm like, it's nice. It was a good looking ball, but
But
I'm
it's a
like,
ball.
how is this going to help us save the planet? You know what I mean?
They mandate, I guess, back in the day, yeah, everybody has to take gym and art credits and shit like that. And nowadays, it's just an extra way for them to get money out of you. I remember a few years ago when I was still going to Nassau for my associates, the very last 2 classes that I had to do to get my degree were gym and art. So for that summer semester, for like 4 weeks straight, I was taking ceramics and sailing. And I was fortunate enough that my dad was paying my tuition at that point. He got that bill. Was like, what the fuck am I paying for? Ceramics and sailing. And it's like, yeah, how the fuck is this going to help me ever
I
in
took
life?
a pottery class. So I liked it, actually. I got like
It's
an A.
fun,
It was hard
but it's
work.
like, what the fuck am I going to
But-
do with this? Like, I'm not going to be a potter. Like, I'm not
Again,
going to sail boats all fucking
this
day.
goes to the huge problem that we have on in our college campuses right now. I mean, one of the things they don't teach is civics. That's a huge problem.
Well, I can't say accounting, but they
No,
don't
no.
teach people how to budget or
right,
anything like that.
exactly, how to save money.
Like, here's what shit is going to cost you. Here's how much you're going to need.
Right.
Like,
Oh my, that's a huge. Well, I just read an article about how the senior. I mean, our seniors in our country are dying at an alarming rate. One, they don't usually have enough money to live.
Yeah.
But they're, they don't have. No one's taking care of them. Children aren't taking care of them like their parents. They used to, in previous generations. And so there's a serious problem with our seniors.
my grandparents, I don't remember the exact year, but I think it was 2013, 2014, they moved into their assisted living. They had sold their house in Port Washington. Ballpark, they wound up, liquidating all their assets, had around like 650 in terms, like 650,000 in terms of money. And the accountant that my parents were dealing with at the time was like, okay, you're pretty much set for like 7 years or so. And it's pretty scary when you think about that, but it's like $650,000 is going to last you less than 10 years if you're that age in terms of like your medical expenses and stuff. So, I mean, people have no idea what the fuck it takes to actually retire in this country. If you have $100,000 in your retirement, that's going to last you a couple months.
Oh, forget about $100,000 is not.
Yeah, like
nearly
that will
what
last
it
you a
used to
few
be.
months. Like, that's not even going to make it a year. So
Dude.
you better have like investments and something to spin off the juice. So
Yeah, my mother showed me how much my grandfather made back in I think right after the war, 1940 something. As a firefighter, he made about, I want to say $3,000
yeah,
for the entire year. And he wasn't even. I don't know how the the rankings work, but he was not like the lowest on the totem pole.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget what he
I
was,
believe
maybe a
it.
lieutenant or something like that.
believe
But,
it or not,
yeah.
my grandfather was actually also in the FDNY, and my mother had found like a medical like insurance book, and it listed all the prices of like different like surgeries that you would have to have, or like if you needed to have them in terms of insurance. It was like literally like you can get your freaking wisdom teeth removed, $7, like some shit like that. Like that's what it cost back in the day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not just that. Of course, it was going to be cheaper, but it was in relation to how much you were
Yeah.
making. Everything, and that's like, God. We also everything's back to politics, but.
Everything is always cyclical. It
Instead of
circles
trying to
back.
raise taxes, why not try to bring the prices of things down? You say it about drugs all the time. They're talking about, well, let's get the prices of drugs down. We want to be able to negotiate and so on and so forth. It's like, okay, well, apply that logic. First of all, you don't do that. Nobody seems to have done that. I've been hearing about that forever. But just apply that logic to other things. Try to get businesses to reduce prices and make things cheaper. Then you won't have to raise taxes, and people won't have to. You don't have to pay people more. They can survive on what they're making.
Yeah.
So why do I never hear that as a solution?
And so it's also pretty crazy because if you ever stay in a hospital or something like that where you have to go there for like 2 or 3 days, you're sick, whatever, you get that bill, a week or two later, and if you have insurance, it'll show you like the breakdown of everything that they covered and how much it costs. And you look at the prices of some of these things.
forget
For
about
you
it.
to get a hospital gown and those little fucking socks that they give you with like the material on the bottom, like the non-stick, so you don't slip on them. Those things cost like $36. Why? They're a pair of fucking socks. It gets back to that thing, back in the day. You really believe you're paying $1,800 for a hammer?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that,
like, people don't question the cost of things. And it's like, why does this cost this much? Because the company's been charging that much, and they've been ripping you off for years, and no one questioned them.
well,
That's
one of
that's
the
why.
things, again, we like, yeah, nothing. There's just so many aspects that don't make sense. It's like
Yeah.
I thought we had more oversight. We do. I know we have people checking these things, but somehow things cost more now than they ever did. Yet they're supposed to be cheaper because we're making them in other countries, right? Isn't that why we shift manufacturing away?
That's
aren't
actually
they
a
supposed
really
to be
good
really
point.
cheap, but they're not, of course. And then you got now the increase in tariffs, so maybe there's certain things that are more expensive now. We don't even really pay attention to it. It's not like they're going to tell us anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then now
Well, they're just going to bullshit us.
yeah,
so.
now in New York State, in some places, I think you have to list how much your bills are going to cost when you go into a hospital now, like how much everything is going to cost
Yeah.
before you go in so you can see. But what are you supposed to do? Be like, oh, no, I can't have that heart transplant.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
It's
Can
going
I
to
have a
cost me
coupon?
20,000. Yeah, I mean, that might be a good deterrent now. Like, they hand it to you like a menu now, supposedly, so you can see how much
What
you're
would you
worth.
like?
You can see how much you're worth, basically. This is
Yeah.
this is just sum total of your life right here. It's all just it's all screwed up. Bro.
This is how
Everything's
much
for
it's going to
profit.
cost you to survive.
Right.
If you want to live, fork it over. Like,
Right, but I mean, so what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
I know I'll take the liver transplant, but no, you can screw the kidneys. I only need one. I mean, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to make those kind. It's sick.
It
So
really is.
I get the whole healthcare debate is incredibly important, but again, I just feel like we're having so many of these debates like incorrectly.
But
like
to say, like,
people are coming at the
we're just going to give it to you and you pay nothing. Like, you're going to have to cover
well, of course, but that's what I'm saying. They're not
something.
saying they're gonna not pay nothing. It's the poorest who are not gonna have to pay anything. Of course, it's gonna be the black and brown people won't have to pay anything. White people will have to pay $1 million basically.
That's a little bit fucked up. I mean, we can't just group and generalize like that. I mean,
No, but that's the way the
there's-
Democrats are going to come at it. That's the way they're coming at everything right now.
I mean, because there really are.
who's going to be footing the bill.
Truth be told, I mean, my entire family has worked in the healthcare system their entire lives, and my sister talks about it all the time. You get just as many like white trash people that are on Medicaid, Part D, as there are minorities.
They're the ones who
so.
need it the most in a lot of cases. But in a lot of these states, they don't have any services. I mean, nobody cares about the Midwest or the middle of the country.
So
First of all,
sparsely populated, they don't have no services for
that's
them.
part of the problem. I mean, a lot of these places are trying to get doctors desperately. They're trying to hire like retired doctors. They're trying to like pay them astronomical amounts of money. There was just a report that came out. This is incredible to me. They're on the verge of cutting 70% of all the emergency services. So like ambulances, any kind of, when you call 911, there's not going to be anyone on the phone for 70% of the country.
Shit.
70, because you forget about it. You just kind of think that's just going to be there.
Yeah.
Like you just assume that if you call 911, someone's going to pick up, rush over, and save your life. You just
So now they're gonna start outsourcing 911 call centers over to freaking India, like they have with Google and Amazon and all this. Hello, what is your emergency today?
Well, but how is it just not such a pressing issue? How is this
Yeah.
not an issue everyone's talking about? How does this not come up in a debate, constantly, right? I would think this would be.
Because everyone's just looking for some other bullshit go viral moment where they're sniping at someone. I mean,
Unfortunately, that's
literally,
a big
I
part
mean,
of it.
it sucks, but that's what the fucking
But you
debates are nowadays.
forget that the people, the EMTs, are usually volunteers, or
Yeah.
how many fire departments are volunteers? These are,
I'm pretty
people-
sure if it's not in a major city, you're gonna if
Right.
it's not New York or Philly or Boston or LA, you're pretty much just volunteer fire
Yeah,
departments.
I
Like
mean,
on Long Island, that's all it is. It's
they
volunteer
have
firemen.
day jobs, and then these people, spend their valuable time coming to save your butt,
Yeah.
and you're
I think after like 20 years or so, you might get some type of small pension. But I mean, you're right. I mean, these are people that are literally just volunteering and doing it because some cases they love it, in some cases they're just good people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when people call up 911 and nobody answers next time, then maybe we'll start to care.
Yeah,
a
then
little bit
all of
more
a sudden
about
the
it.
perspective will shift on them.
Yeah, unfortunately, it usually takes a great catastrophe
Yeah.
for us. At least I don't know if it's for the whole human race, but certainly here in America, it usually takes a huge tragedy for us to wake up.
And
And
actually
finally
like
do
realize
something. Yeah.
what you
You
don't
know.
you don't know what you have until
That's
it's
why
gone.
I love the whole climate change debate. That's why I think it's so hilarious. It's like, okay, on the one sense here, we're finally maybe being proactive about something. I don't know, but at the same time, they're all telling us that it's too late, right? So I don't know what.
It's
How much does Bernie Sanders
I
want to
don't-
spend on saving the planet?
That's
$50
actually
trillion.
something. That's one area where I probably would back him up. But I mean, in terms of some of the shit that they do, like, did you see that meme that went viral? It's like, can't have plastic straws anymore, but how about this giant ass fucking plastic cup that McDonald's gives to me? Where it's
right.
like,
And then they
come
always
on,
hit them on
let's
flying
actually
around
think about this
in the
here.
private jets.
Yeah.
You know, and his
Well,
G5, all the celebrities, all the Hollywood people.
Well, that's exactly it. That's like that Greta Thunberg. She
Yeah,
sailed across.
don't even say her name.
Even if you don't like her, I mean, she
Don't like her, I hate her.
she at least like acknowledges some of the biggest areas of concern there, because it's like you realize how much more like jet pollution contributes to climate change and like auto emissions and things
Of
like that. So
course.
she like sailed boats across the ocean
Dude,
instead of like doing that.
studies that say that cow farts are the biggest perpetrators. Now, then I've also heard reports that say that's a complete myth, that their methane gas actually doesn't really affect the O2. So that's the biggest problem with this climate change debate. I don't know what to believe, and I think nobody knows what to believe. And that's why there shouldn't be any sort of divide on this issue. It should be like, hey, this is our planet. We all live here. Shouldn't we all be trying to save it if it is in jeopardy? But yet somehow, again, they Democrats and I blame the politicians. I will blame them mostly. They frame these debates everything's all wrong. Like for the left, it's fear mongering. It's all or nothing. We're all going to die in a few years unless we. But yet, like they keep making. Here we still are. I mean, I remember Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth so well in 2004. How in 10 years everything was going to be flooded. We were all basically going to be
we were
dead.
all doomed.
And then they making the movie like every Day After Tomorrow, 2012. And yet it doesn't seem like there's much more. Then they want to take any little example of something, a hurricane. Every hurricane is apparently caused by climate change now. Just all you need to do is just show me. I'm on board. Just show me the evidence. Just stop with the fear mongering. Stop telling me the world's going to end soon, and let's just show me the polar ice caps have been melting for 50 freaking years.
Yeah. Although, did you see that it was like 70 degrees in Antarctica over the week?
Again, there was an ice age 10,000 years ago. Is it the weather? I don't know.
It could be a natural part of like how it goes.
Stop telling me we're all going to die. It's like in 10 years. Just give me the facts.
Well, in terms of like the hurricanes, what I do actually believe, they've studied that it has been like the hottest month on record, month after month after month. And with you have scenarios where it's like cold weather clouds can hold more moisture than warm weather clouds.
Sure.
So that's what causes like more violent storms.
And
I think that's why you see more frequent hurricanes
and again,
now.
I'm not totally disagreeing. Just the same thing with the forest, the fires. I'm not disagreeing that because it's hotter that there might be more fires. I think what do they say? 97% of scientists agree that climate change is man-made, and that's who am I to disagree? I'm not. And I think that's what most Republicans are saying now. When Trump says it's a Chinese hoax, of course it's just absolutely ridiculous,
like,
and there's no defense of that. But he, like in his way, what he's he just kind of. You want to say something stupid and crazy like that because you're just so frustrated with the Democrats because he's just kind of expressing the frustration of getting half the country in a poor way. But all we're basically trying to say is just lay out the facts, and we're on board. I mean, of course, we want to be here tomorrow, just like everybody else. And I say we like it's just like I'm on there, but you know what I'm saying.
I fully get what you mean. And
and when I say we, I mean more the common sense brigade.
Yes, truth be told, I think that I still subscribe to the philosophy that there's 15% of crazies on the left, 15% of crazies on the right, and the other 70% of us are pretty rational, human beings. And
that's a pretty fair assessment.
They could pretty much find a way to agree to disagree.
Right.
Like, you want to believe what you want, okay, I'll believe what I want. Here's what we all need, and let's figure out how to get that shit done.
But
that's what we're starting to lose.
I agree. Those numbers are probably roughly correct. But to that point, part of that problem is they're not an equal 15%. What I mean by that is this 15%, is so loud and boisterous on social media, and they work in tech, they work in the media, they're very involved, so they control the sectors that have a much louder voice. It's like liberals, they're in Silicon Valley, they're in, of course, the media big time. There's more Democratic politicians, I think, in number or, in Democratic vote. So it's a different, like this 15% on the right, you really hardly ever hear about, unless there's like a gun rally or something like that.
Virginia last week,
Well, Virginia's gotten crazy. They've gone totally left. And, the gun debate is a I don't, again,
there's no right or wrong.
Well, I'm not saying there's no right or wrong. It's like, okay, it's settled. It's in the Second Amendment. Now, we disagree upon, apparently, the interpretation of it because they say that you have the right to bear arms, but did it mean just for 1776? That's why we have a Supreme Court. And they basically passed a law essentially saying, I won't get into the whole, but Antonin Scalia, his opinion on it basically said that you could own a gun, right? Or at least, but now we have AK, we have machine guns, we have huge weapons. And so there is certainly a debate to be had there. What kind of weapons can you have? You're not allowed to have bazookas or grenades.
Well, that's exactly what where
So,
we are. I mean,
should you be allowed to have an AK-47, or do you need that when a handgun, should probably suffice unless you're in a war. Like if someone's trying to rob you, a handgun's probably going to be good enough. You know what I mean?
Well, and once again, getting back to what you were saying on bleeding heart liberals, I mean, I'm one of those ones who I actually agree. Yes, you do have the right to bear arms, but just like you were saying, it's like, where do we put the limitations on this? And that's the debate that really, I mean, people a lot of times will either jump right into it or run away from it, but you just need to have a rational fucking conversation about, okay, how do we realistically set upon putting limitations on? Is it going to be the amount of ammo you can have? Is it going to be the type of guns that you can own, the caliber of weapons, the rate of fire? I mean, it's something that I believe that most rational Republicans and Democrats say, yeah, there is a lot that needs to be addressed here. But it's like, can we just start making some fucking baby steps already? Like,
well, we have made baby steps. I mean, when you see polling, it shows that like 90+% of the country agrees in background checks.
yeah,
We have background checks in most places. Red flag laws. Like Trump wanted to get rid of the bump stock. See, that's one of the funny things. I hate when Democrats just attack him on issues like that. It's like he was a Democrat for 30 years of his life.
Yeah.
He's from New York. He's not a conservative, like, by any means. He's just, again, if he wasn't so brash and outspoken, he's a common sense guy in those ways. Like when that Vegas shooting happened, he said, "Let's get rid of the bump stock." Like, and a lot of people are on board. He's not some gun-toting, Bible-holding, a redneck from the South or something like that. No, he's just he's a guy a brash, loud guy from New York. And unfortunately, if he could just tone down some of the stuff, we'd get so much more done. I mean, and that's what frustrates him.
It's not the message; it's the way he goes about putting it out there.
And that's what frustrates real Republicans, and a lot of them. And it's like, dude, if you just you saw Bill Barr, the Attorney General, said the other day, like, stop fucking tweeting.
It's making it impossible for me to do my job.
You're right.
Yeah.
So. And again, but it's a moot point because he's never. And my mother says it all the time. She's like, if he could just stop tweeting.
Yep.
I'm like, but he's just not.
It's not his nature.
We're 3+ years in. Like, I'm crazy. I drives me nuts when people think he's gonna change. I'm like, he's not.
Yeah.
You're beating a dead horse.
Exactly.
He's not. He is who he is. And that's
he's what, 76? I mean, he's a 76-year-old man.
And he's freaking president.
He is who he is. He's not going to fucking change at this point. He's a billionaire.
He's the free leader of the earth. He couldn't have more power.
We made him president. He's a billionaire, but now we want him to change at 76 years old at this point. Yeah, good luck with that. Have you ever tried to get a 76-year-old to change their fucking ways? Have you ever tried to teach a 76-year-old how to use a freaking TV remote? Like, come on.
That's another funny thing is how many of our nominees, including himself, they're all old. They're all ancient. People love Bernie Sanders and people love Trump. And,
I mean, Bernie and Biden, they both have to be at least 75. Did you see that meme the other day?
Biden is Bernie and Biden, yeah. At least they're both, I think, 176, maybe 177 or something like that. I don't know.
It sounds right.
But there's a big difference in terms of cognitive.
Yeah, like Trump is a 76-year-old that, like, he's still fucking there.
Of course.
I mean, I don't think he has knowledge on the issues, some of the issues to begin with, but, like, he's still all there. Like, you can see Biden has clear, he has not just lost a step
and hard.
Yeah, he has lost, 3 or 4 steps. He is just not what he used to be.
To save his life, and he's nasty. He can be nasty too when he call that guy fat.
He's not cut out for politics in 2020. He's just it's not his day and age anymore.
It's always funny to see these people who miss their window. Like, he should have done it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton. Was it Hillary?
Elizabeth Warren was the person that a lot of people wanted to run in 2016. There was a lot of run.
It was funny. I just thought Hillary thought her time was in 2008. and then Obama comes along.
You know something?
And,
I almost kind of feel sorry for Hillary Clinton in a sense.
Oh, I
'cause
do, I do.
I know everybody, like,
Sure.
she is a hateable person.
Oh,
she
yeah.
really is.
And
but
she's made herself more hateable.
yeah,
People used to like
she
her.
doesn't do herself any
Oh, man,
favors,
the
but
hell.
like her policies I actually agreed with, but she ran into two fucking phenomenons, one being Barack Obama and the other being Donald Trump, and she
Yep.
just got her ass handed to her.
Yep.
I mean, there's just no two ways about it. Just had terrible fucking timing.
I mean, again, she beat Trump by 3 million plus votes, but that was her own
Yeah.
arrogance for
She-
not going to the heart of the country, Wisconsin, where she needed to go.
Ohio, Pennsylvania.
You know, because she didn't really care about those people, and she didn't really care about trying to win their vote.
I think she took it for granted because
Of course.
I remember hearing, there were reports right after, the election that a lot of Democratic, campaign strategists in Michigan were saying, you have to fucking get here. You have to come here. I mean, the guys in Macomb County and things like that, they're gone. I mean, you can't win the state on Detroit and Flint alone. I mean, you have to come out here and campaign to some of these union guys that are going to be your bread and butter candidates. She didn't fucking do it. I mean, take a look at what happened. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. I mean, that's where she lost this election.
Well, I think the only reason Bernie didn't beat her in 2016 was simply the gun issue. Because I remember one of those those debates, and they agreed because she had moved all the way to the left because she knew that was the only way she could beat him.
Yeah, especially in primary seasons,
Yeah,
like you're just
exactly.
speaking to like just Democratic voters alone. She had
Exactly.
I mean,
And the
that's-
one issue I think they differed on really was guns. And he's like, well, I'm from Vermont, and I've been the senator there for 30 plus years, and no, I don't believe. Oh, she wanted to have the gun manufacturers, they could be sued basically.
Yeah.
Whenever someone, used a gun in a
Once
crime.
again, that's like suing McDonald's for making
right.
you fat.
So
Like,
of
come
course he
on.
was like, no, that's ridiculous. And so I think it's got to be the worst being a Democratic candidate because you have to please everybody.
You gotta
all
pander
the time.
to the crazies.
The blacks, the brown, every person.
Well,
You've got to be so sensitive of each one of their feelings. How do they feel about an issue? You've got to manipulate every answer and be so politically on all the time. And if you misstep once, do you remember even in the debates in 2016? I think when Bernie said ghettos.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"What?
They
Ghettos?"
just took that one little clip, and we're just gonna keep playing
My
it.
God, as you see, like sometimes when I'm sitting here, you say the wrong. You're not
one
perfectly freaking.
PR,
yeah, exactly.
conscious
It's,
all the
PC,
time.
PC, yeah.
PC, sorry.
Right. It's too much. It's exhausting. It hurts your brain. Nobody wants to live like that.
Basically,
And
I
so
mean-
I kind of hope that there's a culture shift now, kind of starting to percolate. And it's funny. It's really it's among like the comedians, the Joe Rogans, the Bill Burrs. They're the only people
Dave
that are starting.
Chappelle's,
Starting to push back.
It's like-
Against the PC police, but
Well,
we need a
Ricky
lot
Gervais
more.
the other
that
month when he was
that was
hosting that show.
orgasmic. That was everybody loved it. And it's funny. It's so
Yep.
funny. All the normal working people
People
loved
loved it.
that, and yet Hollywood's still so blind. And then they go in the Oscars and they still make their idiotic speech.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I heard about Brad Pitt and Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix or something.
It's like people are not watching this to hear
My
about your
God,
political
what
opinion.
is it going to take? We've been saying it for years.
Yeah.
And then they called Ricky Gervais, some paper called him right wing, right? And he's like, what? 'Cause, bashing the elites makes me right wing. But it was when he said that the
It's-
Apple thing with Tim Cook sitting right there.
Yeah,
That they hire migrants in sweatshops or whatever.
it's kind
that
of
was
true.
that was crazy. That was epic. Yeah, I
And
like
you know
it.
something, that was one of those things, like he's hosted that show before, or that event before, but I don't even, what was it, the Oscars, the Grammys, I don't even remember at this point. But essentially, I mean,
The one he just did, you mean? The
Yeah.
Golden Globes?
okay, it was the Golden Globes. Apparently, he's done that before, but I don't think anybody had a clue that he was going to come out and just do that, because he even said, he's like, this is the last time I'm going to be hosting this. Here it is, and just fucking laid it out for people, because it's true. I mean, every single person that wins one of those things, it's like, why can't you just go up there, say thank you, to the cast, the crew, the fans that enjoyed it, thank your parents, your family, your wife, your kids, whatever, and just go about your day. People are not there to hear a lecture from you, who's not an expert in any political or social or economic field, to give a lecture on, current events in this day and age.
Right.
I mean,
Well, what I always find so funny is why they, I get you want the liberal, credentials and you want, to be invited to the dinner parties and have people, I
Well, you
guess
know who's
think
getting
you're
invited
woke
to
or
the dinner
whatever.
parties right now?
Oh.
It's George Clooney and Amal, and you know what? They don't
What?
fucking put their politics out there and bitch every fucking day.
Wait,
so-
why are they getting invited? What do you
Well, I
mean?
mean, they're the ones
Oh,
who
no.
get invited and like sit right next
Well,
to
she's
freaking.
she's a freaking human rights lawyer. For
Yeah, I
Christ's
know
sake,
that,
so-
but they're the ones who get to chum with the freaking British royal family
Oh,
and the
yeah, yeah.
Obamas. Like Obama vacationed in freaking Italy with George Clooney and his wife. So I mean,
Right, all right. But
if you
what
don't put your freaking opinion out there, just blast it and shove it down people's throats, you'll probably get a lot more done because
Well-
you need to know how you're actually going to go about getting your. I don't even know how to say getting your freaking goals accomplished. Basically,
Well, what I find is just so funny though about the whole diversity thing and stuff is like, okay, when you intentionally like bring people in, you try to foster this, sense of inclusiveness, diversity, and all that. But aren't you like hurting yourself in the end? Aren't they taking away jobs from you?
yeah,
Like,
you should have the
if
best
you-
candidates, not
is
ones
it-
that meet a certain criteria to
Right?
make you look.
I mean, don't you want
diverse.
like your kids, them to have a future? They're not going to have the same opportunities you had. I always thought that, like, you're Brad Pitt, or you're Leonardo DiCaprio, whoever. Your kids now are not going to have the same opportunities to, make it in something that they want to because, you had to give it to,
you were campaigning on behalf of somebody else's
right.
kids.
It's that forced diversity that people have such a problem with, and the woke liberals, they want it that they're intentionally trying to do it that way.
Yeah.
But most normal people, again, it's the forcing of it. It's like, what if it happens organically? It happens organically, But I mean, liberals, but most of them are, especially I would say probably half the Democratic Party is probably crazy woke liberals. It's a pretty high number. It's most of the party, but they're brazen about just saying they don't just want equality of opportunity; they want equality of outcome as well.
Yeah.
and that's the
that
issue.
we
It's
should
like,
all
how
wind
did
up,
we get to
making the
this
same
place?
amount. It's like,
Right. It's like I thought Stalin was bad and communist Russians, the Soviet Union. I thought that was all bad. We all learned that.
It's
I mean, what happened? That's the utopia you want. Even the Chinese, they clearly realized, hey, well, okay, we're not gonna have the economic system be communist anymore because
It
that's a
doesn't
bad
work.
right.
It
So
doesn't
we're
work.
gonna, like I said, Singapore earlier, we're gonna go towards pure capitalism in that sense. But of course, they have the best of both worlds, the Chinese government over there, because they control all the people, but they also, the people. That's how they keep them happy. They let them make as much. Although there's been cases, or a lot of cases, where the millionaires or billionaires, they take the money away from them. When they get like super rich or something like that, then they'll like kill them and kill their families and take all their money.
put them on a show trial and just take their fortune from them.
If they love their communist China so much, Xi Jinping sends his daughter to Harvard.
Yeah.
He sends his daughter to
Well, that's
freaking
just like what
the
we were
leader
talking
of
about
China
before.
sends his daughter to Harvard.
I mean, we were talking about that before. How many universities in America, they're just, caking it on freaking foreign, endowments in terms of people sending their kids over here. So,
Yeah.
like we said, it's all cyclical. All cyclical, comes right back.
No, it's a crazy world that we're living in. I don't know how we got, like, in one sense I can kind of understand
it's
it.
right where we started. It's like
No, I
people
know.
are just looking to freaking.
It's like they
be
came to
pissed
this
off.
fork in this road, and instead of going, right, they decided to go left. But it's this detachment from reality. Like this is what I always say. I was saying this in the beginning. Their ideas, I don't know. I can sort of understand where the feeling comes from. It's like, okay, like back to the girl with the pet PETA thing. It's like,
yes, let's
okay,
go back to her.
so
I like that.
you're hypersensitive. So you feel like ownership is bad, okay? And then you start thinking about history class and slaves, and you equate slaves with ownership.
And
so
that
then
actually cheapens the freaking
Right.
debate. I mean,
And-
it actually, like, slavery, it was a major
right, and
like
so,
issue.
right.
in
And so when
moral,
actual bad cases of sexism or whatever happen, nobody cares, or they don't take them seriously because you watered it down so much with all your BS.
you've been crying wolf too
Right,
many times on
exactly.
bullshit issues.
And so I guess it's just that constant, like, they all sit around and talk to each other, and so they keep kind of
They reinforce
right.
like
They
this-
reinforce it. Their own crazy ideas.
Yep.
But it's at the same time, we're more globalized and engaged with each other than ever. You know what I'm saying? And so how you can be so closed-minded, yet it's the hypocrisy
And
of it.
that's
Yet so
actually
apparently
something that's
inclusive and-
really going on in this day and age, where people, like, even on Facebook, if you have a friend that's posting political things that you don't agree with, I actually read that it's a major thing where people are like unfriending people on social media because they only want to see, views that they agree with.
Oh, sure.
And that's what's really like a major problem in this country, because you're not going to agree with everyone. Everyone's not going to agree with each other. You have to be able to like talk to each other and actually come to an understanding of, yeah, you have the right to think what you want. I have the right to think what I want. How are we going to agree?
Right.
I mean, like, you and I don't subscribe to the same political philosophy, but we can discuss it like fucking people.
We do. Yes, we do.
I mean, some people are just literally like, they will just turn it off, turn down the volume. I'm not listening. I'm walking away. La 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 la.
Right.
Like, you can't do that.
And there is always, just being humans. There's, we have to work that stuff out. There's no, manual or certain, so. Yeah, I get it. Like, if someone's, how do you know if someone has crossed the line? You know what I'm saying? How do you know? Like you said, you got to be open to different ideas. You got to be able to hear things that you don't like. But there is always a line, of course, too, right? We have laws, right? You can't, discriminate. You can't, slander people. You can't say. So there are certain things you cannot say. And over time, we've come to a consensus. That these are the things that you can't say. Now we've entered the realm of where you have to say certain things, as you saw again. You don't know who Jordan Peterson is, but you should look him up. But he was the Canadian guy that
you were telling
came
me
out
last
against
time.
the trans. You have to call people by their pronoun, by their the pronoun that they want to be called by.
You were saying that
So-
they've come up with like 96 different versions
Over
of
100.
pronouns.
In New York, there's 100 genders or
It's
whatever.
growing.
Oh yeah.
Like-
No, it's
Like,
it's
I'm
insane.
sorry, 100 different genders.
And I thought the
mean,
Democrats were supposed to be the party of science. Whatever happened to that? I thought the Republicans were the ones that believed that the Earth was only a couple thousand years old, and that dinosaurs didn't exist. But yeah, somehow the Democratic Party has become the party of it's your, and they don't like they don't like biology anymore. They don't like people who study genetics. Genetic biologists are a big problem now. They're going after them hard. Because they find that there are certain differences between men and women, that there are only two genders, and then there must also certain characteristics, but depending on race, or there might be people have different genes, they have different genetics. It's just biology, but they don't like that because you can't tell someone that they have certain genetics and
they're
someone else
socialists.
doesn't.
They want us all to be the same.
Well,
We all got to be the same cookie cutter.
But that's what's crazy. They want everybody the same, but different at the
Different,
they,
but the
they want it the
same.
way they want. Exactly.
Yeah.
They want it the way that they want it. They want to be able to decide who says what. How do you act? Like, yeah, they love diversity, but at the same time, if everybody mingles together and procreates, everyone's going to eventually look the same. So would they hate that or would they love that if everyone looked the same?
Actually,
I don't know.
That's a pretty good debate to have for them. I mean, it's like, how would you feel when we're all just one, race
Right,
and everything
one
like that?
monolithic,
Who are you gonna pick the snipe at then?
Right.
How are you gonna decide who you're going
You
after?
like
So,
different cultures, but you hate your own. It's just a crazy, sick way of thinking, and it's a vicious cycle. And I think social media is probably the biggest single factor
yeah,
in
and you know
this
something?
decline.
I'm one of those people that, like, I have a Facebook, I don't have an Instagram, I don't have a Snapchat, I don't have anything else like that. So I'm just like, so many people have so many different platforms of social media. It's like, how do you have that much fucking time in your day to like monitor all this shit? It's like, get out there and talk to people. Like, go places and do things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, well,
I
I think
mean,
some of them do, and some
And some of
there's a
them
huge
just sit on
dichotomy.
there
like
and
the
they just-
Instagram models. They're going everywhere and taking a picture. How are they not embarrassed though? How do you stand there like with a duck face and take a picture of yourself right? You got
Because
right in
you
the
get
middle of a
enough-
mall or
you
as
get
you're
enough
driving.
freaking views, and then you get sponsors, and you make some money from it. That's how they don't feel embarrassed from it.
No, I got this friend of mine who makes this guy. He's like this huge, like roided out bodybuilder, and he makes a duck face every time he takes a picture. And I'm like, this guy's the biggest bitch I've ever seen in my life. But that's it. We live in this. It's more masculine than ever in this one sense, but
And
it's more
more
feminine,
feminine.
right?
Yep.
You have these huge roided out steroid guys who look like gods, and they act all tough and macho, but at the same time, they'll make a duck face when it's smile when it's time for a picture. They got the tweezing their eyebrows, they're waxing themselves. So yeah, it's this weird dichotomy of like super soldiers, these guys who are big, huge, hulking guys, and women are more masculine than ever. You know, that's been by far the biggest shift, right?
Actually, piggybacking off the science conversation that we were just having, I actually read an article that with all of like the genetically like modified shit that they're putting in, fruits and vegetables and all the things that we're growing today and everything that we're feeding to pigs and cows and, chickens, essentially it's causing a spike in the amount of soy that people are having, and believe it or not,
Higher
our
estrogen.
higher
I drink a
estrogen.
lot. I drink soy almost every day.
And they're finding that for dudes it's actually causing them to have like hormonal shifts, and they're actually developing things like breasts and stuff like that. So
don't
like
tell me that because I drink soy almost every day. But yeah, I hear that.
when you talk about masculine yet feminine, they actually have realized that there's been a major drop in testosterone from generation to generation to generation going back in American history. So I mean, that's actually not just something that you're seeing, it's actually truth. There is science behind that.
Well, we used to be the average height of Americans, I think in the 1700s, was 5'10". So it was one of the reasons we beat the British. The British, their average height was only 5'8".
Okay.
So they were more malnourished. There wasn't, there still isn't good food in Britain, but they had a really hard time back then. They had to import everything because they're just living on a little island. But we ate really well over here when eventually once the Pilgrims got
more
established, we had a lot more food. So yeah, we grew really big, really quickly. So the average height was 5'10". You know what the average height of American is today?
Probably what, 5'8"?
No,
5'7"?
it's still 5'10".
Oh.
So yeah, so we increased, and then by the end of like the 1700s, we sort of
off.
Yeah. But so we were number one in the world for a long time. Even like up until the 1900s, like we had maintained that 5'10" status. But now we're number 9. I think at last check.
Shit.
Yeah, and Denmark apparently is number 1. You know how tall they are on average, the men? This is the men. And so the women are about 5'7", I think, here.
Men, I'm gonna say 6'1".
6'1.5" on average. So they're walking around about my height, everybody.
Fuck.
Every
Denmark
man is
a
about my height.
tall-ass country.
Yeah, and there's 8 others in between that, or 7 others before you get to us. So yeah, so diet is crucial. So you can have all the food in the world like we do here, but if you don't eat properly, if you're eating Entenmann's, if you're eating crap, if you're drinking Slurpees at big gulps,
like our former
you're not
coworker.
Huh?
Like our former coworker.
Oh, don't even, dude! It was sweet potato fries.
It was
that thing. Yeah,
we actually.
I heard. I verified that. I didn't even know you could buy sweet potato fries. Came in like a giant aluminum tray like that.
I didn't realize they had serving sizes like that. You're right. I thought they got rid of supersize, but for her, I guess maybe she ordered 2.
Yeah, well, people don't even know
at 8 o'clock in the morning, just munching on.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was
potato
sweet potato
fries
fries 9 a.m. or whatever. But you said pigs earlier, and it just made me think of this. 2 funny stories, totally on the beaten path right here. One, I saw a petition on change.org for it's. I only subscribe to them because the stuff people put up on there is hilarious. But apparently in China, just recently, like last week, they had taken a full-grown pig, put him in, gave him a little Superman cape, and threw him off of a bridge. In a bungee cord, and so
even still, it's like, why would you do that to a fucking pig? Like, that pig didn't do anything to you.
So now they want
people are assholes.
Boycott the Chinese town. I'm like, first of all, this is the Chinese government. You think they're going to care about some petition on change.org?
No,
they
they're
had
not.
like 500,000 signatures or something like that. But I'm like, what do you want to do? What do you want them to do? Give the pig? Like, what do you want them to do?
Like
probably ate the pig by now.
Put the pig through like a whole round of like therapy and have him go see a bunch of shrinks, make him feel better about himself. I mean, that is fucked up. Why would you put a pig in a freaking bungee cord and do that?
Even maybe more. This one's weird too. Apparently, it's a town in like South Carolina where maybe it was the end of the year. I think it might have been like a New Year's celebration thing. Apparently, they throw a possum and an opossum off of a 2-story floor building. No bungee cord.
Why?
This thing just
Why would they do that?
To like, I don't know, signal the new year or something like that. It's a
Happy
little
New
town.
Year.
Yeah, apparently they started like in the 50s or 60s or something like that. And so like the most recent one like broke its leg.
I would think so. You're throwing shit off a 2-story building.
Well, of course. And so PETA wants to. I don't know what do you want them to do? They want to like sue them? Yeah, they want them to stop. On the one hand, I'm like, again, it's weird and I would never do it. But at the same time, who the hell just if they want to throw a possum off it's a freaking pot. You know what I mean? It's an overgrown rat. What are we?
Are we really gonna make this our hill to die on?
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
It's a crazy world. We've been talking about it for the last 2 hours, man. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it's just a question of just how crazy is the world going to get. Can we drag it back to freaking rational sanity? I mean, that's the argument that everybody needs to have.
it's gonna see. On the one hand, I don't think it would take a lot of work. I think it would just take somebody,
The right
who's
messenger.
just pounding that message, into our brains over and over again. But who's it going to be? For Republicans, it's Trump.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's him. He's here already. But you're never going to get that one perfect figure.
No.
With him, you got to take the inarticulate, the weird, the crazy to get, the more, because it's about the deeper things that he represents.
Yeah.
So to us, it's just fluff. It's just noise. It's just, it's like it comes with the package. If you wanted, you could have had Ted Cruz, but you didn't get that authenticity or that brashness.
I would happily take Donald Trump over Ted Cruz any day of the week.
Well, because Ted Cruz would get some serious stuff done.
Yeah, he actually knows the levers to pull in fucking Washington.
He's a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you ever talk about taxes? He went to Harvard.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's talking about half the time. he debated, who was it, Bernie, I think, in taxes. They had like a tax debate. He and the black Republican Tom Scott.
Tim Scott from South Carolina.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you what they were talking. But what's funny is there were such two completely different viewpoints. I didn't know what to believe, and that's one of the biggest problems. Again, I say this: there's always seems to be two sets of facts on everything. You know what I mean? Like a climate change. I don't know, taxes. There always seems to be two different sets of information, like Republican statistics and liberal statistics. And so I think people don't know which one to believe unless they're already inclined to believe one.
That, and just like we were saying before, so many people want to be just cookie cutter, where it's like, if you're a Democrat, nope, you are anti-gun, you are pro-immigration, you are, pro-healthcare. I mean,
we're all pro-healthcare.
I mean,
no,
pro-socialized healthcare.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have an issue where you feel that you're on the other side of the debate. I mean, you could say, okay, I agree with this, I agree with this, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this issue. Like, you can do that. You can do that. You don't have to say, okay, I'm all Democrat or I'm all Republican. You can split your ticket. You can.
Yep.
People don't realize it. It's just a sick world.
Crazy
world, I guess we should say.
I think that's about it. That's about wraps it up here today.
Well, it's been a good day, actually.
Yep. It's been a pleasure.
It always is.
All right, man.
Thank you for having me on.
We good?